Well, thank you Byron and Bianca for joining us and the UK Domain to talk about Self-Made, the book that you've got coming up. What's the release date for Self-Made?
The release date is the 5th of October. It's available for pre-order now via Amazon, which means you'll get it on release date. So we're obviously encouraging everyone to pre-order in advance.
So just to start off, what is Self-Made about and what subjects do you cover?
Yeah, so Self-Made is about taking entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, people in their corporate industries for a variety of topics from starting their business right through to selling it. So it covers elements like personal branding, social media, selling your business.
It's kind of the A to Z. It's like the A to Z of business. So from idea to reality, how do I get that initial idea off the ground and start making it, a true reflection of what I hope to achieve long term?
Yeah, and I think that's a common problem that people, aspiring startups have, which is how do I get started? Because it feels such a insurmountable journey, really. What prompted you to write Self-Made?
I think Byron does a lot of startup business consultancy. I do some, but I also do a lot of speaking. And what we were finding was that a lot of events or people calling for consultancy would come up to us and have basically the same questions. I've got this idea, what do I do? I'm not sure how to create a website. Do I need a website? Do I just need social media? How do I create a brand? What do I do for marketing? How do I create a pricing structure? And every time we went to these events, people had the same questions, regardless of what the business idea was or social enterprise or projects at work. The questions were the same. And we were often saying to them, well, look, we offer consultancy, but sometimes they couldn't afford our consultancy hours or rates. And so we thought, how do we get all of that information to someone in an easy to use format at a price that is obtainable by all people? And we thought, absolutely, let's write a book.
And do you think that's an audience which is underserved? You mentioned about lots of people who are thinking about starting a business. They don't really have the funds and the previous expenses in order to hire a consultant or go to an agency.
Absolutely.
And do you feel that's who this book is for?
Yeah, so definitely it's affordable, it gives you some answers, and there is an element of raising finance. So we call it 6 of the best, which is actually in the book. So 6 different the most common ways of generating funds. We're talking about real ways, not the myth of yes, you can walk into a bank and get an infinity amount of money. Realistic ways of generating capital for your business to start.
And there is a lot of information out there, but I think often what you find is there's information on lots of different websites, lots of different channels, and sometimes conflicting information. And sometimes information, if I'm honest, from people who haven't actually been through that journey. And I think what Byron and I bring to the table is we are both entrepreneurs who have been through that journey, and we're both providing our perspective. So there are chapters where I'll talk about the fact that I'm quite risk adverse and Byron's less risk adverse. And so it kind of gives you an illustration of you could be either person, you could have either background, but you could still make it in business. And I think that's what we really wanted to provide. Not just the inspiration and motivation, but the actual knowledge, the how-to. And that's what it is for us.
And what you say about information not being all in one place, that's a problem that the UK Domain we come up against all the time. Whenever we talk to small businesses and interview business owners, they always say, well, there's all of this advice about social media and websites and domain names, but it's scattered all over the web. You don't know quite who's written it and how to trust those people. So it's great that all this information has been brought into one place. A lot of our audience at the UK Domain is still offline. That includes mature small businesses who've been going for a number of years, and also startups who've just gotten started. What advice would you give to any small business or startup that's still offline?
I think being online is so important now, because I think just generally, if you're going to meet someone, you probably Google them in advance and you expect something to come up. And I think what you don't want to be your only representative of you in business from my perspective is Facebook. You want to have an online website that truly represents who you are, who your business is, what it does, in a way that you've created, you created a website that looks how you want it to look, presents you in the best way, has a great formatting, has the contact information and details, is up to date. Social media is a great asset, but I think it's something that complements having, that website.
And I think a lot of customers, before they make their buying decision, they want to check you out online. So if you haven't got that online presence, it may affect you in terms of your sales or that customer coming back to you or referring you. So I think you have to have an online presence now to get ahead or to at least give that customer that confidence that you are a legitimate business. And you can just access so much more people than you can, with a shop or from just walking down the street. You can access millions of people across the world, and you can target those people as well.
Our advice to most small businesses is to get your domain name as soon as you think of your business name and when you register your company. Kind of more broadly, how soon should a small business and startup think about their online presence?
I think from the outset, we've come across a lot of businesses who've had a fantastic business name and they're sold on the business name, and then they go online, they try and buy the website and it's already gone. Or they buy the website and they realise the social media is already gone. And it's one of those situations where you almost have to do everything at the same time. You have to check the Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn's available, and your web domain, and purchase them all so that you have that brand protection. And I think, name isn't the end of the world. I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on the name of the brand, when actually what you need to be thinking about is that content, that service, that product, and getting it out there. But absolutely, I think from the outset, you have to think about your online presence. Yeah.
Online promotion and advertising has clearly been very important to the both of you. What forms of online promotion have you found the most effective?
I think LinkedIn for me has been incredible as a resource, because I think, I know on LinkedIn I have maybe 18,000 connections approximately, but I know that if I post something, usually you could get quite a quick response from a kind of business purchasing perspective, if that makes sense. So you get quite a lot of client kind of interaction via LinkedIn. But I think Facebook has been really interesting from a focus group perspective. So if I want to put a new idea out there and I want actual feedback, I find Facebook, they're really responsive in providing that feedback. So I think it's a balance of both. I think analytics, just going back to having a website, I think analytics is huge on your website and on social media, because it shows where people are coming from, how long they've been on the website, what they've looked at. And I think you can then use that information to then create a better online promotion or online activity.
Yeah. I think from my perspective, the most useful online tool probably has been Google, and that's in kind of twofold. So that's natural organic searches, so working on our SEO, making sure that we're at the top of Google for a variety of different keywords, and also the AdWords, pay-per-click, as they call it now. AdWords has been vital for some of my businesses, because that's how we started getting trade. And then I would say LinkedIn has been excellent. I'm on something like 15,000 contacts, and if we're going on holiday to a country, I'll reach out to everyone I know in that particular country, and we end up having meetings on our holidays.
Sounds like a great holiday. You just cruise there.
but that's the nature of what ends up happening. So LinkedIn has been fantastic as well, because it allows you to reach people across the world and in different sectors and industries that you might not meet out networking, and you can target those people as well.
A common question we get regarding the use of social media is, what content do I post? What do I do? What advice would you give to a business asking that kind of question?
I think it's important to understand the different social media platforms and look at them independently. I think sometimes people make the error of kind of just blanket targeting all of them with the same information. And I think at the beginning you probably do that, but I think over time, when you get to understand the different demographics on each social media platform, that's when you can really start posting the most appropriate information.
Yeah, I think you touched on some good points there. Just to add, I would say, as an example, I recently did some consultancy for a client, and they were promoting their business on their own personal Instagram. And I said there needs to be a division here, because you're talking about your wonderful holiday, you've got pictures of your wife, all great pictures, then you've got pictures of your products that you're selling. And I said there needs to be a division here. Unless your product is you, there needs to be a division. So I think it is very important that you understand the difference for the different platforms.
If you could go back and talk to your former selves before you started your companies, what piece of advice would you give yourselves?
Great question. I think I would, it would be around the subject of networking. Just the
That's what I was going to say. Oh no.
All right.
I need to keep thinking.
Well, look, you answer your question.
No, go on.
It's fine.
I'll keep thinking, it's fine.
I think definitely it'll be around the importance of using your network to get ahead, and being in environments which will allow you to develop yourself personally. By being in different networks, it aids you in your personal development, but it also aids you in the people you can reach and the connections you have, because it's always easier to get into or to do various things if you have someone who can refer you, because the referral is very powerful.
I think networking is crucial. I think you're absolutely right, because I think at the beginning when I started my business, I was networking maybe 3-4 times a week, and I was also kind of pumping money into PPC, what's it called now?
AdWords, they call it now, yeah.
And I was probably pumping money into AdWords, and the reality is networking was what brought me business, and that referral system, that's what brought me business, but I hadn't noticed that soon enough that I could have changed what I was doing. And I feel like I, at the time, wasted a lot of money on AdWords without already building my personal brand first, and then using AdWords. And I think that's one thing about networking. But my other thing I think I would have told my younger self is don't be afraid to ask for help. I think when I started in business, I obviously had Byron, my parents and other family members who were very influential, but I didn't go out to enough people and say, actually, I'm just starting, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me? And I think if I'd done that a little bit more, I think I would have had more insight, more information a lot sooner. So I think not being afraid to ask questions, even if you think it's a stupid question, it's better to ask the question than not to, I think.
So just on the subject of networking, a lot of people find that they get disheartened because the business takes a long time to get, and they also find that they don't know how to make effective use of their time. What advice would you give to people who go out networking to get business, and what goals and objectives should they give themselves?
That has a couple of points, really. So you have to review your networking when you're going out. So for my staff, when they go out and network, I ask for some information. Who did they meet? How many people did they exchange business cards with? What was the follow-up process from there? So on and so forth. So it's good to review it, but also with networking, there is a pipeline, I would call it. So the person you meet today might not be valuable today, and in 6 to 9 to 12 months' time, you've met someone else. It might not even be directly about your own business. It could be about their business, and you've been able to connect them together. And what ends up happening is, number one, your pipeline gets bigger because you've networked with that person, and they call you 6 months later and say, yeah, my friend wants a kitchen, that's fine, I can do the work for you. Or you get a referral from somebody else. So it's important not to lose heart or lose focus because of you're not getting business straight away. And we've got elements in the self-made book about, I'll give you one of them, is effective networking and not being what we call a card dealer, and just handing out your cards.
And
hoping someone will do some business with you. Yeah. So there is effective networking tips that you can do and follow to get results.
I think two things on networking is networking karma, which I think you touched upon, which is, networking is meant to be reciprocal. Like, I think a lot of people feel like they should go networking and say, hi, here's my business card, can you give me some business? And then walk away hoping that money just lands on their lap. And actually, it's meant to be reciprocal in that you actually might want to help someone else. And in that networking karma, it might come back around and help you in the long term. But I think people go at it with the wrong vision or expectation of what happens as a result of networking. And I think it truly should be building relationships. And those relationships have the potential to become commercial, but they may not be commercial from the outset. And I think if you go into it thinking, I'm building relationships here, I'm building my credibility instead of, I need business now, then I think things start to change.
Bianca, Byron, thank you both for joining the UK Domain today to talk about your book, Self-Made. Self-Made is available on the 5th of October and ready to pre-order now.
Absolutely.
Yes. Brilliant, thank you very much.